Yeah.
But yeah.
Stephen Fry. What kind of books does he like? Kind of like.
Stephen Fry is brilliant. He I met him a few weeks ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, we were both on the radio at the BBC, and he stood next to me in the queue, and I said, "I'm really sorry. Would it be possible for us to have a selfie?" We had a whole conversation, and he was so genteel and so kind. He had gone to school with my best friend's dad. So.
Yeah.
Oh nice.
Yeah.
And when it also with books as well, like obviously moving forward, like in future, like you know, would you like to obviously, you know, like write more books, write for people, or even like what would you like to do in terms of like that industry moving forward?
Yeah, I think I am a non-fiction writer predominantly. So anything that sits in lifestyle, business, memoir, narrative non-fiction, yeah, that's what I enjoy writing about. I also enjoy opinion pieces, long-form opinion pieces, and short-form comment. So I really enjoy writing.
Okay, and here it says you're a speaker, founder of Broadstairs Wayfinders.
Yeah,
Am I saying? Did I say correctly?
Group. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wayfinders Group. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What's that all about?
Well,
you must love what you do, you know, because sorry to even cut you. Every time I mention something that you do, to speak about it a bit more, you see your smile.
See, this is why I can't be a politician, because I enjoy what I do too much. They say that you should do in life what makes you come alive.
Yeah.
And sitting in the midst of people's conflicts makes me come alive. The Wayfinders Group helps leaders and organisations navigate the uncharted. So whether that's the harm that people have experienced, whether that is difficult situations, whether that is leaders who don't know how to have those difficult conversations, leaders who don't know how to govern their organizations well, or who are in conflict with each other or in conflict with themselves, helping them find freedom from those situations through advisory services, through educational services, has really come out of my heart and passion for people to be reconciled. And you could say that leaders who are in conflict with one another don't lead well, but I think it's more than that. I think we are at our best when we're at peace. And if I can be a peacemaker, if people through the Wayfinders Group can experience peace in a variety of forms, whether that's institutional, whether that's community, whether that's individual, we exist for the one. And in the same way that I write for the one, I want to resolve conflict for the one, so that we can equip people with the tools that they need to be able to resolve their differences effectively, and not just move on beyond the conflict, but restore the relationships that, in a way that if you breach a contract, you can get a judge to put you in the position that you should have been in if the contract wasn't breached. If you breach trust with somebody, how do you get that trust back? That's what the Wayfinders Group does.
Okay. And you know, like a random one as well, yeah? Like, you know, like off camera before we started, talking, I was talking about, you asked me like how I began this platform and whatnot. Like, you see like with social media, with like, obviously we've got devices, everyone's got a voice and whatnot. Like, for you personally, like, do you think this is good for the world, or it's even kind of made the world more louder for no reason, if you get where I'm coming from? Yeah.
I think there's a huge amount of noise on social media, but I just think that there are some really ordinary people doing extraordinary things that social media is able to elevate and to, you know, as a person of faith, I find it a very encouraging place to hang out on social media. Access to talks, new music, new conversations, new artists. As a writer, I find social media very helpful in promoting new books that are coming down the line. I think.
How do you?
Well, I was gonna say.
Yeah, go on, Darren. Sorry.
The question is whether the downsides of social media outweigh some of the positive benefits. And I think we're seeing on X, for example, how misinformation and disinformation is is behind a huge amount of violence and community division and racism, and it's just unfettered, and that's problematic. But I don't think that we can blame social media for that. I mean, you know, we're kind of in the same territory as people don't kill people, guns kill people kind of situation. Like, we all wield the device, we're all cogent agents who can make our own decisions, and we have a responsibility to act in a particular way when we sign on to these platforms. Now, when you add things like AI and chatbots and things like that, you know, it becomes a different ethical conversation, but it's still a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Random question, yeah? What do you think about robots?
Robots?
What do you think about, like
AI
a world with AI and robots? Like, obviously, we keep on, there's a lot of things that, there's a channel on YouTube that I watch that obviously gives you like an insight in terms of like, you know, like China, all of these countries, how advanced they are in terms of technology compared to a lot of these countries that we live in. And some of the things that I see, like, that they're developing, or things that they're already getting, you know, like practicing in terms of like trial run and whatever, I'm shocked. It's like I get mixed emotions basically. It's like I get excited, I get concerned at the same time in case this might go wrong. Basically, like mentally, it's like I'm all over the place, like mentally, because it's like it's a little bit too much. Like, what are your thoughts, like in terms of like just the world, you know, like moving forward in years to come, robots, AI, and all of these crazy technologies?
I mean, we've seen an unprecedented amount of technological change in a super short space of time, which is overwhelming in and of itself. I have no problems with AI or robots in principle. I think, again, it's about the governance of these things and what are we ethically allowing them to do. And, you know, there's a different conversation about social responsibility, right? Are we removing jobs from people for profit, for corporates, because it's cheaper to get a robot to do it? But then you could argue that there are some things that robots are doing, particularly in factories, you know, mass creation of aeronautical devices or aerospace materials in general, which the precision that you can get from a robot is also preventing kind of factory injuries from individuals. But I think, for me, the challenge is that we're living in two very different worlds, right? We're living in a world that's still reliant on cars that we have to drive ourselves at a time when cars that can drive themselves also exist. And the question is, how do you merge those worlds in a way that doesn't create destruction and conflict and, it's the eradication of the human race, which I don't think it is that existential. But I think the question really is, what are the drivers behind the continual creation of all of these technological products? And how are we as humans adapting to being replaced in certain functions for those? And how are we equipping those people whose jobs are being replaced by technology to have the skills that they need to be able to go and do something else?
Yeah. Because every time I go back to just have a quick laugh here, every time I go back to iRobot and I think to myself, I never want that shit to happen to us. You know, I never want... Like one day I never want these robots to get so, you know, like so powerful that they take over us, the human. And I feel like in terms of, if we're talking about fear, that's one of the biggest fears. That when it comes to, when I speak to so many different people, a lot of human beings, the fear is AI, all of these robots getting to a point where they're so intelligent one day that they take over us and they start controlling us. You get me? So it's like what you said, it's like we just have to hope that the people behind these robots or whatever, it's like, you know, they do the right work rather than do like a madness where all of this can get out of hand, innit? You get what I mean? Like, moving forward as well, like, you know, like, family-wise, like, what's your family, like, background? Like, where's your mum and your dad from? Like, what country do you come from?
My dad is from Miami.
Welcome to Miami. I'm joking. Yeah, sorry, that was smooth sounds. Sometimes I just go a little bit crazy, sorry.
My mum is from Barbados.
Yeah.
And I grew up in North Yorkshire.
Very interesting.
And I've got a brother as well, who also grew up in North Yorkshire.
Yeah, man, big up to your brother.
When did you move to the UK? Or...
My dad worked in intelligence.
Okay.
And you see, like, growing up in North Yorkshire, how was that like? Because obviously us two here, we grew up in London, loud, beautiful, we're not changing for the world. But now, I'm a little bit older. If I could I can't wait to move to the countryside, somewhere more quiet. This noise, I can't take it anymore. Honestly speaking, like, how was it for you? Like, was it peaceful? Was it like?
Yeah, it was. It was really peaceful. It was really idyllic. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of the greenest places in
Oh
the
my
United
God.
Kingdom. There's just green grass and
That's what I'm craving
sheep
for
and
now.
cows and rivers and rolling hills and really, really stunning. You know, only black people in the village. You know, well, there's that too. Maybe like the whole town.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, but you kind of feel like a third country kid, third culture kid, because we grew up there, but weren't from there. But I wasn't from where my parents were from either, and so everybody was just kind of figuring it out.
When you was going through that period of, you know, like exactly what you just said, like, did you ever go through like, because I feel like all of us or most of us go through like life where we're learning about ourselves, you know, like as teenagers, and some of us, I think, we go through like a stage where we have like an identity crisis where we're trying to work out certain things. It's like who we are and whatnot. Like, did you ever go through that phase where it's like you start questioning certain things about obviously your identity, or like what you said, where your parents come from, where you really belong, all you get me, all of these kind of things? Did you?
No, I think for me that came later, and when it did come, it really came. I think those weren't really the biggest considerations. I mean, I think it was a different experience being the only black kids in the school, my brother and I, and you know, he definitely had some interesting experiences. You know, his nickname at school was Carpet Head, which was very quickly stamped out by my mother. And you know, like my nickname was Medusa because, you know, I wore my hair in braids. And so, you know, it's kind of like a very traditional education, and then the kids not really knowing where the boundaries are. But I think in general, I think I appreciated the fact that we weren't treated differently. And I appreciated that we were just very integrated. And so this, the whole experience of race and identity was compounded because we then moved to the United States, and I was like, wait, this is different again. You know, what does it mean to be an African American? Like, what are the expectations here? How do I merge what your experience of what you think my culture should be with what my culture actually is, and also having that yearning for a British culture that wasn't second nature to anyone around me in the United States. So it was an interesting time, compounded then by when I came back at 16, and it was like, okay, now what is this? And again, one of the only black people in the school, but very accomplished, and so very visible, and you know, feeling the weight of responsibility, of making the most of that opportunity. So I think this is what my memoir is about, you know, belonging, identity, citizenship. How do you find a safe place to land when the place that you believe is your home is not actually your home, or when you're not allowed to stay there? How does that work? And when everywhere is home and nowhere is home, but family isn't the central feature in what home looks like for you because you've been so displaced. It's an interesting conversation. What I didn't realise was that it is an interesting conversation for people who have not been through that experience as much as it is for the people who have been through that experience. And that's why I'm writing that book, because I think we all struggle to understand ourselves, but we all have to go on this journey of who are we and who do we want to be and who are we becoming.
That's the key. That's the absolute key. You know, I want to talk about your, like, you said you've done some lawyer work before.
No, I'm a lawyer.
You're a lawyer. Or you're currently a lawyer.
I'm also a lawyer, yes.
Okay. This is what, going back to what I said at the beginning, this is why I love these conversations. You keep on, it's like an onion, right? You keep on peeling the layer. It's like this as well. It's absolutely amazing. So, like, if one of my friends wanted to beat case, can I contact you, or what kind of lawyer?
Depends what kind of case. It
yes, exactly.
Sorry, I got a lot excited.
What kind of law is relevant?
Let's.
I will recommend somebody else to advise your friend.
Yeah. But yeah, like going back to you, like in terms of like your current lawyer work, like what type of lawyer are you, and how long have you been a lawyer for?
I am a corporate lawyer, so I advise businesses on legal matters that affect them, their employees, their customers, their operations. I have been an in-house general counsel for several years now. Maybe five years. I've been an in-house lawyer since 2018. I trained at Freshfields, one of the Magic Circle law firms in corporate mergers and acquisitions. And before that, I tried to be a barrister. So I was called to the bar in 2011 at Middle Temple.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So you see, like, even on a random one, what made you want to become a barrister?
I wanted to be an advocate. I wanted to solve problems and
I hear you.
yeah. I think for me it was one of those things where do your skills intersect, and I was really attracted to problem solving. I enjoyed the self-employed nature of the job of a barrister, and you got to have meetings with clients to figure out what their challenges were and then go and advocate for your client's position in front of a judge.
Yeah.
Perfect job for me.
I was just about to say, you sound like in your nature, you're basically a problem solver.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you're accustomed to.
I am a problem solver, and it's a gift and it's a challenge. But I think being a barrister was a brilliant job for me. And ironically, it was immigration challenges that made that impossible.
Yes.
So I went to a law firm that would sponsor my visa.
Oh, right.
Even like you see, like your relationship with God,
Yes.
Because I feel like like in terms of what all of us do, in terms of things that all of us are doing, the journey that all of us are going on individually, like people can call it like having a relationship with God, or obviously some people say it's spiritual, right? More spiritual, connected to the universe and all of these things. Like, how would you describe your relationship with God?
I think I would say that it is very distinct from the people who say that they have an experience with the universe. I do think that those things should be distinguished. And the reason that I say that is because I have a relationship with God. Yeah. And I speak to God, and it is not a one-way relationship. And I think that for me, faith drives everything that I do. And I feel very privileged to be able to look back at where I have been and to see how far I have come and to see how far yet I have to go. But I do think that there is something about putting yourself in the rightful position, i.e. I'm responsible for my life and the decisions that I make, but I'm not the driver of the car. I am being led. And the Wayfinders group has come out of that leading. God has put a call on my heart. He's created a purpose for me that has come out of everything that I've experienced. There's so much adversity in my own life that we haven't even touched on in this podcast that is behind my passion for conflict resolution, that is behind my desire for wholeness and resilience and peacefulness. And I can't separate that part of me from my relationship with God, because I would not have been freed from the things that were holding me back that I needed to be free from to be able to step into a calling like this. And I'm a work in progress. Hey, look, I think that's true of everyone, whether they want to admit it or not. Absolutely. But I've reached a point where I'm no longer fighting the journey. And I think I've created a peace for myself where I'm not afraid of stepping into the unknown, because I know that that's where what I've been praying for and waiting for and preparing for awaits me. So I have to be brave. And I think it's that walk with God that empowers me to take each step of faith to go closer to where I'm being called, even though it feels very uncertain and very unknown. And the reason that I distinguish that from the universe, and I think a lot of the conversations that we're having in popular culture about manifestation, is that it is different, because that is self-led, not other. I am not of my own self-interest moving myself forwards on my journey, whereas I think for a lot of people, they decide what they want and then the universe helps them get there. And I think for me, I'm living out a divine calling that is not my own, but that I have been made perfect for. And so there's an obedience there, there's a dependence there, there's a sacrifice there, there's a vulnerability there. And that's why I say it feels a little bit different.
Yeah.